All right, guys. So we're actually going to get started. Is this recording? Okay, it is. Cool. All right, so we're actually going to get started with tonight's meeting. Welcome to Game Development Club. This is week something. This is week almost done. This is week 4 left. That's what week this is. And to kick it all off, I guess I just have announcements first. So, announcements. First things first, t-shirts are in, guys. So if you haven't picked up your t-shirts yet, or if you would like to pay dues and buy a t-shirt, we have 9 more t-shirts to give out. 4 larges, 3 mediums, and 2 smalls. So if you fit in one of those categories, feel free to come on up and buy one of our t-shirts. It's awesome. And you would definitely be helping us out because, God, we need your money. Just a moment. I have a note on here also I need to pull up for other announcements. I'm actually remembering announcements now. So.
You texted me an hour ago.
Shut up. I was preparing, okay? All right, so t-shirts is the first one. Okay, second one. Not next week, but the week after that, we have elections. You guys know what that means, right? Okay, so to spell it out for you guys, I will still be running for president. I will let you guys just know that now. And Ryan, I don't know what he'll be running for, but he will probably be running for one of them. However, we have 2 people who cannot run for another term because they are graduating. Seth and Anthony are, Seth is graduating, Anthony is also graduating.
So is Anthony.
So, in fact, yeah, so a moment of silence for Seth and Anthony because we will greatly miss them.
So, Seth and Anthony.
Yeah.
Get out of here. No.
Okay, so, but that means, all right, reel it in, guys, just for a moment. All right, so that does mean, though, that there are 2 spots for sure open. You can run for any of them. You can run for presidency, you can run for vice presidency, secretary, or treasurer. And you can run for any of them. However, for sure 2 of them will be brand new people. However, all 4 of them could be brand new people as well. So keep that in mind for people who, for our chairs who have been coming to our exec meetings, for people who want leadership positions to put on their resume or just want to do more with the club. Like, if you really like us and are liking what we're doing, the executives and the chairs will definitely tell you this club is run by more than just the 4 of us. The chairs are a very large part of that. If you come to our exec meetings, it's just us. The chairs give half of the stuff. The executives are just there to guide it and to kind of be the final say. But it looks really good on a resume. So if any of you guys are trying to get jobs and you just happen to, want to do it through us, that'd be great. So that is in 2 weeks' time, not next Monday, but the Monday after that. What is that date? Can you pull that up real quick?
2 Mondays from now.
Yeah, what's the date?
2 weeks.
The date can't be 2 weeks. That's not a date.
Plus 14, mod 31.
April 11th?
Right.
Yes.
April 11th? Okay.
Yes. 2016.
April 11th, 16 is elections. I put the apostrophe.
Did you?
Yes, I did put an apostrophe. Yeah, all right. So, it could be 1916. That'd be
That'd be cool.
That means we've unlocked some real cool shit, though, that we haven't told the world about. So, all right, guys. So yeah, that's elections. But along those same lines, actually, tonight's going to be shorter because we want to have an opportunity for anybody who is interested in running to ask us questions about what responsibilities there is for our club. Because people, when you are an executive board, there are certain responsibilities there are certain jobs you're expected to do, certain people you're expected to lord over. Different things like that. And so we wanted to have a moment where people can ask us any of those questions. We can clarify things. Hopefully some of you guys are actually interested. How many of you guys are actually thinking about you might run? Okay, then stay for the whole meeting because we actually want to even if you aren't interested, still stick around because we might convince you. Still being executive for the club is actually a lot of fun. If you like doing work, which sounds horrible.
That's not a good Yes, I'm interested.
It's just us, there's a lot of benefits to it. You meet lots of cool people, all different sorts of stuff, so we'll stick around. What? Are you Supermaning right now?
I'm mocking you.
Oh, well, I needed some place to... I didn't know what to do with my hands. So, make sense? All right, final announcement. Sorry that one went on so long. Okay, final announcement. All right, shh. Quick question. How many of you guys have heard of Project Lead the Way from high school? Okay. Actually, quite a few, more of you than I was expecting. So Project Lead the Way is, for those of you guys who don't know, it's an engineering initiative that they have put into like high schools and middle schools, where you get to take classes that are about engineering. Like the first class is called Introduction to Engineering Design. You learn things like Autodesk Inventor, which is a CAD program, a 3D CAD program. Then there's Principles of Engineering. There's like a computer programming one. It's really cool stuff for high schoolers so that they can actually learn about STEM things, engineering, different things like that, right? Well, right now they are planning a Project Lead the Way event here at Iowa State, and they're looking for people to volunteer for a PLTW. PLTW stands for Project Lead the Way. For a PLTW like fair that they're going to have high schoolers come, and they're looking for people to volunteer for that. They already have activities planned out for the fair. All you have to do is basically run the booth. And then they've also have some presentations. So if you want to give like a STEM-based presentation, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. If you want to give like a presentation or like a demonstration of some sort, they already have all those planned out. All they need is people to run them. So if you're comfortable speaking in front of people, or if you're just comfortable being a carny for about an hour, they're actually looking for those people. If any of you guys are interested in that, you can either email me or just meet me after the club. Either one's fine. I don't really give a crap.
Do you know when it is?
It is in like 2 or 3 weeks. So there's still plenty of time for you to clear your schedule. Your very hectic, busy schedule. Which I shouldn't say sarcastically, because actually many of you probably are really busy. So
Yeah, I am.
You're not busy, Ryan. All right. So, cool? Makes sense? Was that too long? Was that too long for announcements? That was like 8 minutes for announcements. Okay. But now we're actually going to get into tonight's meeting. So, bit of forewarning. I have not prepared much for this for tonight.
Tonight?
Screw you. Okay. So, but the idea was because I want this, the way I put it in my notes is I want it to be kind of a support group for you guys. Even at our last exec meeting, we were kind of struggling to come up with ideas for you guys about your club. When we started talking, we realized many of you guys haven't actually gotten anywhere in a game before. Like, even if you've been coming to our workspaces, some of you guys haven't, because Unity has been down on the workspaces, you haven't been able to actually make a game, right? And you haven't been able to either work on your mini games, or maybe some of you guys have actually come to our club with a game project that you've either abandoned or weren't able to get anywhere on, or different things like that. How many of you guys have done either of those? Okay, I'm raising my hand because I legitimately have. We got really far in a project and then I just had to abandon it.
Which one is that?
Huh? Any project. Mine's Get Ripped. Okay, so have any of you guys ever like tried designing a game? Like, have you ever ever just sat down on pen and paper and actually tried to like write out the design of a game? Not make it, but actually write one out. Who here has done that? See, the thing is that's actually really important. Even though you may not have made a game, even though you may not have actually worked physically on either Unity or worked in Twine to write dialogue for a game or anything like that, if you haven't done that, just designing the game is a major, major thing for you to do. And so we were kind of thinking that because some of you guys aren't making progress, there might be a few of you who are getting kind of disappointed or like discouraged from actually making a game. And so tonight, what we're going to talk about are some of the actual like really important things you can do in a game that seem really small, but are actually gigantic when it actually comes to making your first game, especially your first game. Because nobody ever makes, like, Mass Effect was nobody's first game, I guarantee you. Like, BioWare, first of all, is, big enough to where they would have hired experienced people, but think of the scope of the game that they made. That couldn't have been made by anybody's first time, right? And so it's important to look at these things and think about, okay, I did that. That's a thing that I actually did. So who here has actually worked? Somebody raise their hand for somebody who's worked on a mini game and would be willing to be asked a surprise question. Or a game in general. I shouldn't say a mini game because many of you guys haven't. Because I know these two assholes. Wow. I'm just kidding, guys. That was for comedic effect, I promise. You're not assholes. All right. First of all, what's your name? I'm actually trying to learn people's names. Huh? Andrew? Okay. What is the okay? So have you actually worked on making a game before? Like, have you ever actually like made a game?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your proudest moment when making it or starting it? Like
Probably getting sprites to move around.
getting sprites to move around. That's actually a big deal. Like, think about it. How many of you guys have actually worked on adding art into your games so far? Is it easy? Yeah, that guy says no. Hey, you, shush. But he's saying no. He was the one I was looking for. You're my confirmation bias. No, yeah. Like sprites can actually be something that's very hard to do. Like, adding art into a game isn't something that if you can't just do it, especially without like looking it up. Like, did you look it up on Google or something like that? Yeah. Like, it's not something you can just really figure out. So doing that, even though you may not have gotten very far in it, or how far did you get? Like, what was the game and how far did you get in it?
Well, it's for the collaborative thing
Oh, the minigame?
outside of workspace. But
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much done.
Oh, it is?
I just have a few more things to add to it.
Oh, cool. So, so you've added other things to it, but like the biggest thing was, or your most proudest moment was getting art to move around.
Just like when I was first starting out, like finally I got it to like
Yeah.
to move around.
So, to give you guys a little like backstory, you want to know what my proudest moment on my first game ever was? I was working in Game Maker, first of all, which is nothing like Unity. It's much simpler than Unity. And my proudest moment, honest to God, was just getting a blue square to move around the screen. Like, it was just a red background and getting a square to move around. Yeah.
So that software you were talking about, Game Maker, would you recommend that if somebody's never worked in Unity before?
Game Maker's simpler if you don't want to do coding. They do a lot of stuff where you can just do drag and drop things. So, but yeah, if you haven't worked on a game ever before and you really want to like learn about the game making process, Game Maker is perfect for that.
I was going to say, Game Maker, in my opinion, is really good to start out with. And also another alternative that I know kind of gets a bad rep sometimes is RPG Maker. Well, I know it's fairly simple, but it's really good to just get your feet in the water with game development
Right.
and stuff before you hop into Unity, which can be really overwhelming sometimes.
Because Unity, so for many of you guys who don't know, Unity is like a very powerful tool, first of all, but it's also powerful enough to actually be an industry standard. Game Maker and RPG Maker are a little bit less industry standard. They're more for first-time projects or for smaller like two-man teams making a game. Unity is actually used in the industry. Like full-blown games are made in Unity. Like there was a really, really old, it was one of the first ever like popular Unity games. It was a Cartoon Network MMO called, I can't remember what it was called, but
Something fall.
yeah, it was something like Fusion Fall. It was called Fusion Fall.
Don't ask me why I know that.
Oh, I know it because I played that crap. I loved it. And it was the very first ever Unity game that I made. It's been around for a while, but that was like a full-blown like, huh?
That you made.
No, I played. I didn't make it. So, Hearthstone's made in Unity. That would have been a better example.
Pokemon trading card games also.
Like, probably the only two games that you know of that were made in Game Maker are Hotline Miami and Undertale.
No, Spelunky.
Also,
Or the original.
The original. Yeah, okay.
your brain also.
But okay, do you notice the difference between that? We have Hearthstone versus Undertale. Like, one had a lot more money behind it. It was Undertale. No, like Hearthstone had a lot more money in going into making it because it's an industry tool. Game Maker is something you make for small projects or things that will blow up and make you millions of dollars, right? So, so getting away from all that, because none of you guys are actually here for like engines, or like actually, you know, the technical side of things. Like sometimes just doing the small things in making a game are actually gigantic things of progress. So I'm going to do something real quick, and I'm going to write out something that a game, this is all based on a game, and I want you guys to guess which game had these major milestones when they were developing. Give me my phone, just a moment. Huh? Oh, your t-shirt is in the way. All right. By the way, guys, this is what the t-shirt looks like. Hey, YouTube. 15-second ad. It's just us holding the shirt. Okay. I know what they were once I actually see it on my phone. It takes a while to walk though. All right. Oh yeah, you guys talk amongst yourself while I write this out.
We can impeach him for a day, assuming he gets reelected, of course. We can only impeach this day. What? I think that's going to be a problem. That's true. Yeah. You can impeach him for being a bad president.
No, I emailed this.
I mean, if we're following like US.
We're
following our constitution. We have a personal constitution, and if
I guess I'm fine with it. The fact that there wasn't one there, but
us two could vote to impeach.
Okay. All right. Social time is up.
Okay, sure. Anyway.
So, when thinking about games in terms of not like how big they are, you can break them down into just the major milestones for super simple stuff. There's a game out there that the first major milestone for actually getting it to work was just walking, running, and then jumping. Those are 3 separate milestones for major interaction with this game. It was a large part of the gameplay. And then later on, they decided to vary the gameplay by adding power-ups, environmental interaction, enemy interaction, and level transitioning. Can any of you guys think of a single game that's ever done this? Somebody raise their hand and say it out loud. Somebody raise their hand, and then I'll call on them. Okay, you. Huh? Yes, it was Mario. Like, think about it. All they have is walking, running, and jumping. But if you were trying to make Mario, and all you had were those 3 things, you have half the game. You have like legitimately almost every gameplay mechanic, like 3/4 of the gameplay mechanics in this, right?
Platforms. If you get rid of
And platforms, I guess.
get rid of level transitioning, have nothing.
Okay, so do you guys? So when you guys even though you're making slow progress or you're doing things small that don't really make sense, like if you guys followed along with Ryan's rollerball and all you guys got going on was like moving the ball around, right? That's incredibly important to actually making a game. You can't have a game without actual human interaction. Otherwise, it's a movie. Otherwise, it's a Metal Gear Solid game. So, okay.
I think you mean Hideo Kojima game.
It's a Hideo Kojima game.
Final Fantasy's coming out.
Okay. But then, so it's important. So think about, many of you guys have probably gotten to hear on games before, whether it be a tutorial or whether it be your mini games or whether it be a personal game that you've made. You've probably gotten to walking, running, jumping, or whatever it is in your game, moving around, simple button interaction, whatever. These ones are a bit more complicated, though. Like, look at them, right? They're power-ups, environmental interaction, enemy interaction, and level transitioning. What do half of those even mean? Like, somebody tell me what level transitioning means.
You're in one level, and then you're in another one. That was not that bad.
Okay, okay. So maybe that was a bad decision, and I'm going to retract that statement. What is environmental interaction? Can somebody define that one in 2 sentences? You.
In Amnesia, when you click on a door and it opens when you pull the mouse back.
All right. Is that it for environmental interaction, though?
No.
Okay.
No, yes,
Like
it
in
is.
Mario when you smash block or Battlefield when you pull up a wall.
Right. But is that it for environmental interaction? Right. So with these Mario games, so whenever you're looking at major milestones for your games, oftentimes they can be simple ones, like walking, running, and jumping. Other times, they can be much, much more complicated, like choosing the entire power-up system for your game. Do you want fire flowers, superstars, mushroom? I skipped mushrooms. And then Tanuki suit, flying feather, different things like that. Environmental interaction, what kind of blocks do you want? Different things like that. And then those can be broken up into other smaller milestones. The important thing to keep thinking is realizing you're making progress no matter how small the thing is that you do. Now, to give you guys a little bit of an example about this, because most of this seems really, really self-explanatory, right? Like it seems small, or it seems self-explanatory. I don't know why I repeated that sentence. But you guys have like an innate grasp of this. But what's important is not forgetting about it during the actual design process. So, our good friend Ian here, Ian Spaden, he is actually somebody who he's an avid map maker for games like Team Fortress 2. So much so that he actually has a map in the last community map pack update for Team Fortress 2. He actually is on...
It's
It was 2 updates ago.
I don't know. It was in October.
Yeah, community map pack update. So he's actually on Steam's, or he's actually on Valve's payroll now. But he gets he's actually made like a map that people liked and enjoyed. And do you want to take it from here, or do you want me to try to explain this?
I can take it from here, I guess.
Okay.
So, let's talk about this little wheel before we get into the...
Oh wait, quick comment. This fucker's only like a sophomore, and he's on Valve's payroll, and I hate him a little bit for that. Super jealous. So that being said,
To be fair...
good luck.
How chalky is that?
It wasn't that chalky. Didn't think about that. Yeah. Hey, real quick. I want to give you this though, because we have people watching this on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, we have to record it. Always got to go for the best case. All right. I've literally never used one of these before.
All right.
I have no idea if this is working.
And I'll probably be interjecting throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just carry this. Okay. So when talking about milestones, an important thing about milestones is so that you don't sort of like lose track of what you're doing. Because like when you want to make a game, basically you have point A and point B. Point A is you have nothing, and point B is you have the game finished. And like, for instance, this map took an hour, well, not an hour and a half, a year and a half from start to finish. Granted, I wasn't really working on it the whole time. The actual like total amount of development time was maybe like a few months. But the point of milestones is to break that A to B into a whole bunch of smaller ones that you can actually like keep track of. That way you like sort of know where you are. So basically, you think about the thing, then you make the thing, then you show it to other people. This is sort of like an important thing in games, is showing it to other people, because like when you're making a game, it's about like creating an experience for someone who doesn't know what's going on in the background, and you know what's going on in the background, so you can kind of pretend what it's like to play your game, but you really can't play your game. And then you have to like get feedback from the people playing your game so that you can think about it some more and do it again. And so let's go ahead and look at the map. This was sort of the first layout that I made for my map. We have this middle section here. It's like this big open courtyard. And how many of you guys have played Team Fortress 2? Okay, so
What's that game?
Team Fortress 2 is a game where you can be one of 9 different people and you shoot each other.
I want to make a correction. You can be one of 9 different. You can be sniper.
One of different.
Yes, you can shoot people. Sometimes you shoot people with a gun that actually heals them, but only if they're on your team. So it's not really shooting, but it's basically shooting.
It's team shooting.
And one of the game modes in, well, like one of the mechanics in Team Fortress 2 is they have these things called control points, where it's like this nipple that sits on the ground. And if you stand on the nipple for long enough, it becomes your team's nipple. And I mean, that's basically the whole thing. You have to like stand on it for a certain amount of time before it like becomes your team's. And depending on the game mode, the other team can take it back. So in this particular map, there's a control point over here. I don't know how well you can see that, but like there's up on top of this tower is a control point, and that's right next to your team's spawn. And then there's like one inside this barn, one inside this barn, and then one on this tower. And all of them start being like neutral. So like nobody owns any of the control points at the start of the map. And the way that it works is you have to own both of the barns in the middle before you can go and capture the one in the back. So like all of this kind of came about just by messing around and seeing what would happen. But I have this middle section of the map here. And that was, anyone who wants to guess, like, how long did it take me to come up with that? Like, how long did it take me to build that? Any guesses?
Shout out a number.
A day, 30 seconds.
It's between those. It took about an hour and a half, maybe, to put that all together. And then we have this end section. I'll just skip the guessing part. That took like 4 or 5 hours. And that's just kind of because I ran out of ideas. And so like this part here started failing me because I just was not going through the cycle. I was basically losing track of where I am And so what you do in that case is you just build something. You don't think about it, you just skip it and you make something because you have to go in this order through the cycle. If you don't build it, it cannot be tested, you can't get feedback, and you can't think again about it. So I just kind of threw something down. And as it turned out, that section that I didn't like think about too hard, it was garbage, so I got rid of it. But it taught me a lot about like what's going on with this layout. So this is like the next iteration of the layout. This version of it wasn't actually playable, like there wasn't anywhere you actually spawned. But at this point, I was trying to like reconfigure the middle section because it was kind of working, but not a lot, and it was just, there were a few like awkward things. So like you can see there's like these 2 huts here, and then the next one, there's only 1 hut. And then the next version of it, I turned those barns into the actual spawn rooms, and you can actually exit out the side of this barn and then like take the sewer route down into this ditch down here. So like I was only able to make that design decision because I built something that I didn't really care about, and it got me testing and it got me feedback, which then let me go back to design. So then this got tested again, and this just kind of goes on. I don't even know what I changed, but this is the next version of the map. And this was actually the final version of the map that I submitted to a 72-hour contest. It took 72 hours to make this version of the map. And we had, I don't know, 30-some entries to this contest, and the people who were testing it kind of hopped on a server whenever they wanted to play on it. And I actually like went through and kept track of what maps got played when. This was the last map to get tested of all 30, while there were other maps that had been tested like 2 or 3 times already by this point. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to make that point because people didn't like it then, but now it's in the game, so.
So screw those people? That's what I
Yeah, A, screw those people, but B, also like, don't give up, I guess. Sometimes it is a good idea to give up, but like, no, like it's a good idea to give up when you are endangering your ability to keep on going. And that usually has to do with like situations where you need money because money buys you food, and it buys you a bed, and it buys you a roof, things like that. So like, that's when you should be giving up. But like, if you really believe in something, then you should be trying to go for it. I can't say this was the situation here because it was like my first year of college, and like, who cares? I guess it's not like working on this thing was, it wasn't even endangering my grades. I did all of this in my free time. Also, I just wanted to make the point that this is like the alpha version of the map, where it's just me testing out the layout before I do any detailing, but you can totally tell that there is detail in that, and that's because it was like the 72-hour contest. And I was just kind of rushing through things. This is kind of what your typical alpha map will look like, where nothing really has textures on it. I've thrown in some like props that are like nicely detailed, but that's just because I knew I wanted to use those props, and so I put them already in the layout because you can't really, there's no point in untexturing them if they're already textured. So then we detail the thing. This was the first detailed version of the layout. As you can see, we still have these metal shacks. I think we're kind of getting away from the milestones point, but I just wanted to like complete the story here. And then this was the version of the map that's actually in the game. There's a slight difference. If you look at the distance between these 2 buildings, I actually increased that a little bit. So even at this point where I've like fully detailed the map, I'm still making layout changes just because I think that's what needs to be done. I also added these buildings on top of the spawn rooms because detail. This is what the map looked like when I submitted it for the 72-hour contest, and this is what it looks like now. So this was not in my head when I started making the map. Which seems really obvious, but there are like a lot of like new game designers will be like, oh, I just have this. I'm going to make Mass Effect, but it's got planes. I don't know, and they have this perfect idea of what it's going to be, but like, I have this thing that started out as this, and you can see like what parts of this ended up in the final thing, but I didn't know. And it's because I went through that cycle. I didn't design, build, and then publish. I design, build, test, feedback, do that for a year and a half, and then publish. So yes,
Yeah.
that's like an example of why milestones are really important.
Yeah. So like, he started off with something simple, right, and kept building it. That's the reason I brought up the differences. Actually, can I have that back?
Yes.
It's a good thing that I didn't have that when I just snorted my own snot. Where was this on? Ladies. All right. But no. So the whole reason that like I wanted him to talk about that stuff, but the whole thing I forgot to mention is that's the difference between like this stuff and these things. Is that he started off with something simple, right? He started off just making something, just doing something, his walking, running, and jumping was just having buildings and 2 endpoints. His point was having a map you can spawn in. And then from there, he continued to add these more complicated milestones, such as power-ups or different things. His power-ups, his environmental interaction, his enemy interaction was, in his case, it was just more fine-tuning, right? Like checking out the map, making sure that adding the control points, adding the outside detail.
There's actually like sound effects, so there's like birds that chirp in the background and everything.
Yeah, like his milestones were less gameplay and just more level specific, but it's the same idea. You start off with something simple, you just keep going. Any progress is progress, unless you just deleted everything. That's backwards progress, which inherently isn't progress.
It can be worth it.
Yeah, but yeah.
Learning that right now.
So yeah, all right. But that's actually pretty much it. Sorry, this meeting was probably a little bit underwhelming. I really do want to have time for people to ask any questions they have about being executives or running for elections or anything like that. So this meeting is pretty much over. I hope you guys had fun. Go forth, make games, be awesome. And I'm going to make that my catchphrase from now on. So even if you guys think it's cheesy as hell, I'm rolling with it. I love cheese. Who doesn't love cheese? Everybody loves cheese. We all love nachos, right?